The Galactic Council's finest hazmat specialists stood at the edge of the quarantine zone, their environmental suits gleaming under the harsh artificial lights of the orbital station. Behind their reinforced visors, alien eyes watched in fascination and horror as the human, the Deathworlder, simply walked past them wearing nothing but standard-issue coveralls and work boots. Commander Zixith of the Hegemony clicked his mandibles nervously as he observed the human through his suit's enhanced optics. "This is madness," he transmitted to his team. "The radiation levels in Sector 7 would kill any civilized being within minutes." Dr. Elena Vasquez paused at the threshold of the contaminated section, turning back to address the assembled alien specialists. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she carried only a basic toolkit and a water bottle. No radiation suit. No breathing apparatus, no protective gear whatsoever. "The reactor core needs manual realignment," she said matter-of-factly, her voice carrying clearly through the thin atmosphere. "Your suits are too bulky to fit through the maintenance shafts, and your remote drones keep getting fried by the electromagnetic interference." The Valthari engineer, Siendal, rippled his tentacles in distress. "Human Elena, the radiation in there measures 2,000 rems per hour. Even with our military-grade protection, we dare not venture beyond the first checkpoint." Elena shrugged, a gesture that somehow conveyed both nonchalance and confidence. "Where I come from, we call that a Tuesday in Chernobyl." She grinned at their confused expressions. "Don't worry, I've got this." As she disappeared into the glowing corridor beyond, the alien team could only watch through their external monitors, their sophisticated instruments tracking her progress deeper into what they considered a death trap. The first maintenance shaft was a narrow tunnel barely wide enough for Elena's shoulders, lined with exposed conduits crackling with lethal energy. She squeezed through, her bare hands gripping the metal framework as sparks showered around her. The aliens' instruments registered electromagnetic pulses that would have overloaded their suit systems instantly. "How is she still conscious?" whispered Loktar, the Dreknari military commander, his scaled hide visible through his armor's transparent sections. The EM field alone should have disrupted her nervous system. What they didn't understand was that Elena Vasquez had grown up in the copper mines of Chile, where her grandfather had worked with minimal protection for decades. She had spent her childhood playing in radioactive tailings that would have been declared forbidden zones on any civilized world. Her DNA bore the scars and adaptations of generations of humans who had learned to thrive in environments that killed everything else. Deeper in the reactor complex, Elena encountered the first real challenge. The coolant leak had created a toxic soup of heavy water, ionized gases, and metallic debris floating in zero gravity. The mixture would have dissolved the seals on any known protective suit within seconds. She took a deep breath, held it, and dove in. Swimming through the corrosive cloud, Elena's eyes watered and her skin tingled, but she pressed on. Her hands, calloused from years of industrial work, found the manual override valve by touch alone. The wheel was seized, corroded by the chemical bath surrounding it. On Earth, they would have called this impossible. In space, surrounded by aliens who considered her homeworld a hellscape, Elena simply gritted her teeth and applied leverage. The wheel turned. "The radiation spike just peaked at 5,000 rems, reported the station's AI through the comm system. "No biological entity can survive that exposure level." Elena emerged from the toxic cloud, her coveralls steaming slightly, and keyed her radio. "Define biological entity," she said with dark humor, "because I'm feeling pretty lively down here." The final challenge lay in the reactor core itself, a chamber flooded with hard radiation and temperatures that fluctuated between absolute 0 and several hundred degrees Celsius as the damaged cooling system cycled erratically. The control rod that needed realignment was stuck in a position that threatened to tear the station apart. Elena stripped off her work boots and socks, knowing she would need the tactile feedback of bare feet to navigate the ice-slicked surfaces safely. The aliens watched in stunned silence as she walked barefoot across metal grating that registered at -40 Celsius on their sensors. "Her species is insane," Zixith muttered. "How did they ever achieve spaceflight?" "Perhaps," suggested Dr. Siendal thoughtfully, "they achieved spaceflight because they are insane." In the reactor core, Elena found her target, a control rod jammed at a 40-degree angle, held in place by a twisted support beam. The radiation here was so intense that her vision flickered with phantom lights and she could taste copper in her mouth, but her hands remained steady as she positioned her tools. The work required her to lie flat against the reactor housing, her body absorbing radiation levels that would have been fatal to any other known species. She could feel the heat through. The metal could sense the dangerous energies flowing just inches from her skin. But Elena had grown up under a sun that would have blinded most alien species, in an atmosphere that was poison to half the galaxy. She was a Deathworlder. This was what humans did. 20 minutes later, Elena emerged from the reactor core, her mission complete. The station's alarms fell silent as the containment field stabilized, and the radiation levels began dropping to safe parameters. The alien specialists surrounded her immediately, their instruments scanning frantically for signs of radiation poisoning, cellular damage, or neurological impairment. They found elevated levels of everything that should have killed her, but Elena Vasquez stood there grinning, apparently unharmed. "Well," she said, pulling her boots back on. "That was refreshing. Got anything else that needs fixing?" "Commander." Zixith stared at her through his visor, his mandibles clicking in what his species considered profound respect. "Human Elena," he said slowly, "I begin to understand why your people were the first to leave their homeworld voluntarily. You didn't escape your death world. You conquered it so thoroughly that everywhere else seems safe by comparison." Elena laughed, shouldering her toolkit. "Commander, where I come from, we have a saying. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. The universe is about to learn that humans don't break easily." As she walked away, leaving a trail of boot prints that glowed faintly with residual radiation, the alien observers remained silent. They had witnessed something that would be discussed in xenobiology circles for generations, the moment they truly understood that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their intelligence. It was their absolute, terrifying refusal to acknowledge when something should be impossible. The Deathworlder had walked barefoot where armored soldiers feared to step, and she had made it look easy. Because for humans, the impossible was just another word for Tuesday.